What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a Two Penny Games react. This time to HBO's The Last of Us, Episode 5, Endure and Survive. This episode was directed by Jeremy Webb. And I guess I'll just start it off like I have the last couple of weeks. Once again, The Last of Us just continues. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good gaming buddies.
Yeah, good morning, by the way.
Yeah, say good. It's morning. I just woke up 20 minutes ago, guys. I'm tired.
Come on, Tab. We gotta be exact with this kind of thing. You can't have any mess ups.
No mess ups. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hi, I'm sleepy as well, so I would do the same thing. I'd actually do worse. So.
And Phil Shoemaker.
Hey, what's up?
Hello. All right. I'll jump in. We'll start some spoiler-free impressions, and then we'll dive into the deep stuff here in a second. To get started on my thoughts of the episode, once again, I think it's fantastic. I think The Last of Us continues to further impress with just its ability to adapt and makes very smart changes to that original story. Whether they are slight or major, they continue to just impress with just how intelligently that they implement all of the elements from the game and how they make them work for TV. They ask questions that I never asked before, but I'm so glad they're there now. And they just continue to ground the audience into this adventure and make them care about the little things. And it's really just so impressive how just these small little bits of humanity in our character elements just continue to make us go, fuck, man, this is dope. This also, I feel, is the first episode that eagle-eyed viewers who had played the game and who are fans of the game can get a lot more out of this episode than just casual viewers. But for the most part, it's all the same for the two experiences. Yeah. But there were small little Easter eggs that were sprinkled throughout the episode that I was like, oh, that's because of that, and they don't have time to tell that part of the story, so they just scribbled it on the wall there. I'm like,
I was just gonna say, you're talking about on the wall.
Yeah,
a lot of good things in that regard.
Yeah, Connor, what were your thoughts on the episode?
Off the back of episode 3, they changed a lot of what the original Bill and Frank story was, or really what the Bill story was from the game. And I think overwhelmingly people thought it was a great change of how to do that story. But you can also make the criticism of it's such a large deviation from the game that I don't like how that adaptation played out, and that's fair. This one I think does it in a way. Yeah, exactly. But even as far as I wouldn't say this is what a purist would think, because I think someone who's more stringent following how the game plays out would find this episode, just like myself, to be amazing and changing it in ways that just improve on the original. The Sam and Henry story, which already was good back when the game was released, was given so many new dimensions to it. We'll get into that later when we start talking to the nitty-gritty and going into the spoilers, that it recontextualized the entire character of Henry and Sam, particularly Henry. I think he was done the best in this episode. He was clearly the focus. A lot of the onus of the story was on him and the decisions that he had made that led to the events of this 5th episode. And they were able to do it in a way that made the character of Henry make more sense for how he did things. And as Tavin said before, there's lots of moments where I was like, oh, this is how they're adapting this part of the game through this episode. Not doing it the same exact way, but doing it enough to where us as players can say, oh, that's what they're going for. They're trying to recreate that scene from the game in a different context. And it did so in a way that made it to where I didn't know how things were going to play out, which is how a lot of the episode did. It built on itself from the last episode that happened, based off of, all the things that took place, the cliffhanger or the mystery aspect of it, of some evil thing stirring underground, of Joel and Ellie and their situation, and how they come off as other people. It was a great episode. It really, really was. I think it might, next to the Bill and Frank episode, be the best episode of the show so far.
Phil.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Connor. I think this is up there as far as the episode quality goes. Very big fan of all the things that we had going on in this episode. I like the kind of mirror image that Sam and Henry give us to Joel and Ellie. It's kind of like a fatherly thing. Although like, I mean they're brothers, but Henry at some point says like they make the joke where like yeah, your dad's kind of weird, and then both Joel and Ellie are both like, not her dad. And then at some point Henry's like, you might not be her dad, but you're somebody's dad, and I can see that. And I think it's a good dive into like, I mean, for those that know the story of Sam and Henry, I'm not going to really dive into spoilers, but I mean, it plays out. I mean, you know how it plays out. And I was worried. I was still like dreading the ending for how that turns out. Like I'm as me having knowledge of the games, I was like, I was kind of just hunched forward in my seat. I was like, was waiting for it to happen. Hands on my face. I was just like waiting as they're in the motel. And then Ash is asking questions like, wait, do you know what's going to happen? Do you know what's about to happen? I was like, I'm just quiet. I'm just quiet the entire time. I'm like, if it turns out like the game, I do.
I thought Ashley knew the story.
She knows less than I do about it.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Knew some of the other bits.
I think she only really watched her brother play like the first couple chapters.
Oh, okay. Okay, got you.
But yeah, I thought this episode was phenomenal. It was really funny because, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but last episode we didn't have any of the infected, and then Ash was even like, because she missed last week's episode, so we watched the first that episode before we watched this one, so I rewatched it, and then she was like, man, I thought this was like a show about the zombies, and I was like, well, I mean, it's not really about them, it's about the people experiencing the zombies and trying to survive through them. And it was like, and then she was like, yeah, there's none. That was weird that there's none in this episode. And I was like, yeah. And then this next episode comes in, and they have enough infected for both episodes.
More than any other up to this point, I think.
Yeah.
Going off of what you said earlier, it really did do a good job of, creating that suspense for players who played the game. In the first game, it was able to recreate that the best with showing the things before the outbreak, knowing what's going to come, and going into uncharted territory. This did something similar, but it did it in a completely different way that you kind of forgot that aspect of the story until you saw it coming. Once you saw like the line, like knowing as a player what happens, seeing certain parts in the shot, I was like, oh.
Yeah, for me, whenever like this is whenever I like started leaning forward and like put my hand on my face, it was when we saw the shot of the motel, and I was like,
interesting.
Oh shit, yeah, we're at the motel.
Was that a motel? And then we're gonna go ahead and dive into spoilers here. Was that a motel in the game?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was a motel.
I thought that was just like the little station for the radio tower.
No, I think it was.
I think
Sam and Henry's
motel.
group is supposed to meet at a radio tower outside of town.
I
could be wrong.
I thought it was a motel.
I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain it's not a motel.
You're right. That's what they did in the game, but that's what it was. It was a motel.
Yeah, here it was a motel. Yeah, I'm with you here.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a motel in the game too.
No,
I don't think it is. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That's not a detail that like matters. I'm with you guys that like as a player of the game, that element of Sam and Henry and the story of Sam and Henry did hold a lot of tension here for me. It never faded from my mind. So every moment that we had, the great introduction of the Savage Starlight comics for Ellie through Sam, like immediately broke my heart because I was like, fuck, they're bonding over this? No. Like Sam teaching her how to sign, endure, and survive.
Was he I know in the game he wasn't deaf. Was he just mute in the game?
No. Completely different character.
No.
In this
they just they just added him being
he talked
deaf.
and everything? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's like
I do really like that they made him deaf in the show. I thought that was another layer onto like their relationship and like how much more Sam relies on Henry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good way of doing it.
Yeah, in different ways for sure. I appreciate as someone who is adjacent to the deaf community, I appreciated getting an actual deaf actor for Sam, who actually had a pretty good performance, considering how young he is and the fact that I think he's born deaf. I'm not sure, but I think he's born deaf.
Yeah, actually, I asked the same question. I was like, I'm pretty sure he is.
Um, the actor made me think he is in the way they were. And then they go into how they of course brought an expert in and yada yada yada. I can't speak to the quality of signs. I'm sure that the boy had the best of them, and I'm sure Henry's actor Lamar Johnson. I just had it. Let me find it again. Was just Lamar Johnson was just serviceable. But I really appreciated it. I thought it was just fascinating to see that element of real life in this story, because it's just not in the original game at all. Something else that isn't in either game that I was like, oh shit, I never thought about that, and I'm really glad they're exploring that, is children becoming infected.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fuck, that was savage as hell.
Yeah.
Just the
By
way
caffeine.
the way that little girl was just jumping around and flipping and just like had the like elasticity of a child that you lose with age. And
she was like tumbling over the seats and stuff.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's weird that they and then like we got a good look at it and I was like, oh, it's a fucking kid. It's like 8 years old or something, and it's fucked up. And the way it would like jump around and bounce, like I think it bounces off of a gravestone before it tackles Kathleen and stuff, and just the speed and savagery of its movements was scary. Me and my girlfriend Nicole were watching, and I was like, honestly, I would rather the bloater kill me, because at least the bloater's gonna be quick.
Oh my god, you see, he fucking ripped Pierce's head off.
I was really happy
Tavin,
to see that.
You saw that too?
I was really happy to see that.
That was fucking crazy.
That's a death animation in the game if the bloater gets his hands on you. Is he sticks his fingers, his fat fucking fingers in your mouth and just rips you, like the jaw is still there and just rips the top of you up.
When I saw him starting to like wrangle that guy's head, I was like, "Oh, I know what's coming next." And he's like, "Yeah, there goes."
Yeah, I dug the silhouette of it, like just him holding it in front of the fire and just fucking.
Yeah, they put it out of focus and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, that was fucked up.
Like made the bloater scarier in this game.
Yeah.
You
He
think
looks
so?
like more of a tank. He looks like more of a tank. Like bullets do less to him.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of like the tanks from Left 4 Dead.
Okay,
It did, yeah.
all right. I thought it was functionally about the same, but it's just in TV, so like bullets are gonna do less to him. But you teach their own. Like it looks great. First of all,
It did.
Fucking goddamn, all of the clickers, all of the infected, the way that the different, we've talked about this several times now, but the way that the spores grow out of people and how it's different every time, but you still believe it. And just the look of the bloater was fantastic. It's not like that first clicker we saw in episode 2 was literally like just a recreation of the clicker from the game. This bloater looks different than bloaters in the game do.
Yeah.
But I like it more. It might be how bloaters look in the second game. I don't remember. There's not a lot of bloaters in the second game.
True. Going back to that kid, I think that kid was just CGI. I don't think that was a real kid, right?
I don't know.
When it's like jumping around, yeah, but like
No, I think the entire time.
no,
I don't think it's a real kid.
no, not the entire time.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
Mm.
No, there's some like the face. It's just no. That's a kid that they put some prosthetics on.
Okay.
And told to act like a freak.
Okay.
There are CGI clickers when they're first pouring out.
Yeah.
They of course have a big crowd shot of a bunch of clickers like that. Like there is a bunch of like real world clickers, but like in the shot, like there's like clickers like tumbling over each other and like what is it when you do it on black, like trampling each other and stuff. That's all CG, and I think it looks like CG.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, when that kid like jumps or whatever, that's
Oh yeah, no, I knew that
computer
was.
generated or something. Yeah.
I thought all of it was, but
no. I enjoyed the Kathleen story. I enjoy that it's there, and I enjoy that it gave a little more context to Henry. And it gave some more context to the world in terms of like what is a collaborator and how all of that works with Fedra and so forth. It's just if we didn't have as many episodes as we have, I would be like, why are we wasting time on this? You know what I'm saying? But we have a good amount of episodes left, and then based off of the preview for next week's episode, it looks like they're kind of combining Tommy's story and Winter. So that'll be interesting to see. But Kathleen was cool. It was there. I appreciated that they gave an attempt to sort of humanize the human threat of The Last of Us, which is something they don't really try to do in the game. Past them begging for their lives after they know they've lost. And so yeah, I'm appreciative that it's there, but it wasn't like the greatest thing to me.
Yeah, it wasn't, especially because it seemed to me really highlighting, rather than like if it was trying to show how human she was. I know it did with that scene in the bedroom. I think it kind of overall failed because sure you had that scene, but then everything else about her, being fine with just killing kids, basically having no morals to stand on whatsoever, and being once again as the second game
I have a
dives
different
into
I have a
being
different
no
read
better.
on that bedroom scene.
How'd you read it?
It didn't really work for me.
It's very much the angel and the devil between the two. Like she's like my brother was forgave people and was always the high road and stuff. I'm not that person. Like she's like I know I'm not that person.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I don't understand that philosophy. So yeah, it started making sense as to why she's like nah, fuck it, kill you. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think the really good use of Kathleen and the whole, resistance movement goes towards the development of Henry. Because in the original game, he's a guy who's just trying to protect his brother. Makes perfect sense. And his untimely suicide at the end of that part of the game and the end of this episode over him having to kill Sam has a lot more weight to it due to the Fedra storyline, the Kansas City, quarantine zone storyline. Because rather than just being a suicide as a result of him killing his brother and the person he's been looking after and probably, promised his parents that he would look after as well. Actually, I think they said that in the game. I don't think they said it here.
I think so.
I believe there's lines in the game. I don't remember anything in the show.
He references their parents in the game. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah. I think that's what they were going for in this episode as well, even without having to see the playing the video game. But the cool thing that they do with them, or the tragic thing they do with them, because the entire character of Henry and Sam is tragic in the original game, but it's heaped onto it even more so. Because here's this guy who betrayed clearly what he believed in, his values, to save his brother, to get him life-saving medication and turning over a great man, ultimately leading to him being chased the way that he was. He went through that horrible thing to save his brother, went through this horrible situation that he was in because of him trying to save his brother, giving up Kathleen's brother, and getting out of the city, going through all of these ordeals, doing all these obviously bad things, because he has that character moment where he acknowledges he's the bad guy. He is not the good guy. He did it for selfish reasons, and people died as a result of him. But when Sam dies, it's kind of a moment where he, at least in my mind, he realizes everything that he did up until this point, every single sacrifice he made was wasted. It was worth nothing because he, died in the end anyway. And that gives a better justification for why he committed suicide in that panicked moment. They didn't need to add that point onto it because him losing his brother was enough, but it just adds more tragedy to the character.
Yeah, I think it definitely adds a lot more. It just piles on more of the pain that he feels in that moment.
Yeah, because you really sympathize with Henry. You knew why.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't trying to screw people over. It didn't seem like he did it a lot. It was just the only time he did it, and it was to save his brother.
We've seen a lot of like that kind of thing where it's like this one person is fighting for this one exact thing. Yeah, Bill doing it for Frank. You've got Joel doing it for Ellie. You've got Henry doing it for Sam. And yeah, we've just seen a lot of these people that are just single-minded in the fact that they're on this planet to protect this.
Yeah,
like this is what they're doing.
Yeah, and that all builds into just our central theme of love and what you're willing to do for it. In terms of like giving reason for suicide, yes, I think it plays different, and I think it serves a different purpose in this version of the story. I don't think it's like a better reason or anything. It's just either or in my mind. But I think
there is no good reason.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
I think throughout the course of this episode, they just give you. I think it's a better showing of all of the things that they've had to do and sacrifice and the hardships that they've had to work through, you see that a lot more and you see it a lot better here. You just kind of make assumptions that everybody has gone through some tough shit in the game and everyone you meet, is on the same page, but these are guys who have lived in a QZ their entire lives. And so their level of hardship is like, it's equal in terms of what it does to them, but it's a different level than what like Joel has done. Arguably Joel's gone through more, but it's just this does a better job of like just showing the journey that Sam and Henry went on. Whereas like in the game, it's just like, oh yeah, here's more AI partners that are hanging out with you. I think this is especially shown in the 10, 11 days that they're holed up in the attic. Very like Nazi Germany style stuff. And, them going like, yeah, man, we're rationing food. We're taking a couple of bites a day. Like, we're running out. And then when, our supporter leaves and he never comes back, shit, that happened like in Nazi Germany in the witch hunt for the Jewish people. And you sit there and you go, fuck, man, this is rough. Like, they got to make a move. And then, luckily, but maybe unluckily, Joel and Ellie show up to help them through that. It's weird because like leading up to it, I was more on board in the show than I was in the game. But the actual event, I liked how it was directed more in the game. They make some very small, minimal changes in terms of like camera work and choices of who to focus on that I kind of wish was more like 1-for-1 to the video game. I mean, the same like kind of beats play out. He shoots at Joel's feet. He shoots his brother, and then he shoots himself. And Joel tries to talk him out of it, and then we drop. I did like that we stayed in the moment after, but here they don't show him blowing his own brains out, whereas in the game they do, and they focus on Ellie's reaction, which I think is fine. But I liked the Joel reaction of in the game. Joel like you see it on his face where he goes, "Fuck, I've seen some dark shit. That was really dark. Like, oh God, that one hit me too." Granted, you still kind of see that effect here in the show with the aftermath of it all, but the focus on Ellie in that specific scene wasn't better or worse. It was just a choice, and I have a personal preference and bias to the video game in this sense. Seeing the scene of burying them, I really, really loved. I really loved.
I like that too.
I think it just gave so many more layers to the Joel and Ellie relationship where they're looking at that and Joel is thinking, fuck, this is us. And Ellie is, mourning this loss of people who could have been friends. But also the choice, this is genius. The choice to have Sam reveal his infection to Ellie and Ellie try and save him and fail.
Yep.
It is so, I can't believe they didn't think of it for the game, but this is so detrimental to Ellie's arc and what will happen at the end of this story and leading into the next story with season 2 and so forth. That moment will dramatically alter her forever. And if you know about the game, if you know Ellie's story, and if you've played Left Behind, this moment is even more tragic. And it will be revealed as to why it's more tragic later on in the show, so I won't talk about that now. But this moment is like, oh man, my heart was breaking as she was trying to save this kid, and I was like, oh no, man,
she feels like she's the chosen one, right? Like she is Jesus. She thinks she can save. No. I'm. It sounds like I'm doing a bit, but I'm being serious. She thinks that she can save people. She has the ability to save these people.
She thinks her life has a purpose. Yes.
Right. So she's trying to use that. She's using her blood as medicine, as she says, and she tries to heal him. And then she finds out in the morning, didn't fucking work. And I think that brings it back to Ellie being like, oh shit, do I actually matter? Like.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what it's doing here, and I think that's shown with the "I'm sorry" written on the little homemade.
I love
sketch.
that. I love
that was great.
thing.
I don't understand how etch a sketches work. That's how I was like,
so
how are they just flipping it and that works?
Did you ever see? So did you ever have one of those? So it's the pencil with like the magnet shavings.
Okay.
It's that thing. So then when they flip the page up, it puts it back on the bottom of on like the base of the thing. So whenever they use the pencil, that's just how you quick erase it. I loved that thing.
Oh,
I thought that was awesome.
I didn't realize this was a different thing. Okay, yeah, no, it was great. Its purpose in the plot its use in the plot was awesome, and I loved all of that. God, man, my heart broke at the Endurance Survive, like teaching how to sign that shit, and that's gonna come back and hurt later. So I assume both of y'all caught the Ish, the note from the little drawing of Ish.
I did.
Man, Ish is great. Phil, I'm surprised you even know about Ish.
I barely know anything about it. I just saw it and I was like, oh, cool. I recognize that.
Once you had a cool way to integrate the game into the show, which to a part that we didn't think was going to be adapted, the sewers.
Right.
We thought it was entirely left out, and then they were able to include it.
And if they did it, they definitely weren't going to do Ish's community. Like they weren't going to do the little like surviving thing that you find empty. Like, and then when we walked in, I literally gasped and cheered, and I was like, "It's here!" Like I can't believe it's here. Like because I was certain the sewers were going to be cut. And even if they were there, I was certain Ish's whole story was going to be cut. And the fact that they just found a time to just give us a nod, a wink and a nod to it, I was like, thank you, Christ.
It was the little stick figure in the uniform, and it said Ish, and it said like our hero or something, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, that would kind of work for telling that story and stuff. So I was just like, as a fan of the game, I was like, fuck yes, man, thank you for that. That's like clearly this is a labor of love, and y'all are fucking caring.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, I thought you were gonna bleed into the next thing that
go ahead.
from the game. Directly following that, they did it again. When I was like, okay, that was cool, and then they showed us the neighborhood from the neighborhood segment, and then they did the sniper segment from the neighborhood segment. It was another way to include that part that they would ultimately have to skip.
And the old man and the where he's just like, don't do this, just put it down,
just
put
don't,
it down, please just put it down. Oh fuck, that was good. Man, these are good moments to like, because you lose the value of human life in the game because you're just killing motherfuckers left and right.
Okay.
Am I wrong? But in the game, it's like it's not nighttime when they're doing that, right?
No,
it's like close to the end of the day, but there's still a whole lot of light, right?
Yeah. So to that end, that guy you said he was sad and human, whatever. No, it wasn't. That guy was a bastard. He deserved the bullet in his head. Think of it this way.
Connor, it's an old man.
Here's the guy. He's a dumb old man. Doesn't matter. It means he should know better. He should care less about his own life and more about the lives of children that he's shooting at and knowing they're going to get killed. And he's also an idiot because he's shooting at Joel. It makes more sense in the game because it's a video game. He's shooting at Joel, loses sight of him, and then he just forgets about him. He's like, oh, well, I guess he's fine.
Ash said the same thing. It was
he did do that. That was weird to me, yeah.
That was a dumb, evil old man, and it's good he's rotting. Fuck him.
Jesus.
Screw him.
Christ.
Yeah. Also, stupid. Stupid. And
Connor, I think you're forgetting. We're not talking about Sonic here. You can dial it back. You can dial it back.
Fair enough.
But I did really like that moment, and all the moments leading up to just the whole invasion was great. Like even the fact that they found a way to give us the shooting the armored vehicle. Like it's different here, it's a different armored vehicle, but the fact that they still gave it to us, and Joel hitting that shot, and Ellie just blindly shooting at it. I'm like, girl, that's not how that works. Girl. That's not helping. You're just wasting bullets.
She literally wasted like 3 bullets hitting like the base of the
I'm like
not even at the window.
She's trying.
Shoot at the tire? You're not gonna hit the tire. It's not gonna.
She just shouldn't have done that. Like,
Panic.
But you're doing all you can.
Yeah. I also love that moment where I think as a viewer you assume that Henry is just gonna like stay back there with Sam and like maybe like move him, but no, we see him go and help Ellie and come back. I did like that.
There's a quick conflict in the game where Sam and Henry abandon Joel and Ellie, and it was smart to not include it, but they still kind of nodded at it just a little bit, where like Sam grabs Henry and is like, we're fucking gone, and goes, and then the sniper pops at him and he falls back. It's just a quick moment where you're like, okay, it's still there. It's not all the way there, but it's still there. Which I think is just like again, like that, and the Ish, and the whole like Ish community, and a lot of other smaller things. Just they didn't need to put it here, and they put it here, and I'm so glad they did.
I thought a part of them was going to make Henry and Sam live. Part of me was like, okay, maybe they'll change. Maybe we'll keep that. Maybe they will. And then
there was a moment where I was like, okay, are we doing something different here?
the moment though when they were under the car and they were kicking away the zombies, I was like, oh, that's it.
There it is.
That's the go.
Yeah, that wasn't. Maybe it was a thought that had crossed my mind for a moment, but
It did, yeah.
Or it was more of like maybe they don't infect Sam. Maybe they just have Kathleen win and kill Sam and Henry. But I'm that would have been a bad choice in my mind.
I think so too.
Like you need the savagery of the infection, but the way that they just made it hurt so much more through Ellie. Like I'm like, fuck, man. Like, why didn't they didn't think of that in the game?
When you become a monster, are you still in there or something? I can't remember the exact words, but yeah.
Oh my god. And it was always there because it's the exact same line, but the line of "I'm scared of ending up alone."
Oh,
I don't know why, but that hit really hard for me this time, especially knowing choices that get made later and how part 2 ends. I'm sitting here, I'm like, fuck, that hurts. That hurts a lot. I don't know why it never connected with me because it's the exact same line, and it's even delivered with the like spoken dialogue. So you would think it would hit, but just for some reason in this it connected, and I don't know. It's because the show is re-exploring a story, and I'm like piecing together how they're gonna make this story work. So I'm already focused on the future, and that's why it made it work here. I felt the same way about the end of episode 3 where we pulled out through Bill and Frank's window is a very similar shot to a very important shot in the second game. So I was like, oh, that's like a little hint that's interesting that this is going to be a visual thematic element that we may or may not follow.
Really, so from the Bill and Frank thing and they're pulling out the window. I get like the title screen of Last of Us Part 1. That's what I see.
I saw some of that online, but it's the same dolly shot as the final, like no spoilers, but it's the same dolly shot as the final shot of part 2. Like,
oh, okay,
it's like the camera movement, the way that the window enters the frame and stuff. Yeah, like
okay.
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they didn't even think of it, and it was just something they did. I don't know.
I will say, going back to episode 4 before watching episode 5, anytime Ellie is holding that fucking joke book, I'm smiling. I'm just grinning my ear to ear. And we had that bit in the conference room with her and Sam looking at the joke book.
That's what she was doing. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah.
She was showing him the jokes, and then he was laughing, and then Henry's like, "It's been a while since I heard that."
Yeah, which is different. That line is different than the game line. Now I'm nitpicking. I'm like being real specific, real nitty gritty with the details here. It's slightly altered. He says something else. It's like to the same exact effect, and like literally like 2 or 3 words might be different, but it was just interesting. Found it interesting that they didn't make like Henry and Joel like a little more buddy like they do in the games. Like in the games, they are like joking about riding Harleys and riding across country and trading stories like that, and they didn't do that here. And I was like,
that's true.
I think we saw like the beginning development of that when they were in the motel, and then we kind of see them like kind of start to bond a little more. They're just chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was true.
I did like that, but I was also like, yeah, them talking about this. Yeah, they're definitely not making it through this. Like, it's not going to happen. Like,
yeah. And then also I love the point out Ellie does of like, yeah, Joel, he's all hard on the outside, but he'll be like, no, we're not doing that. And then, like a couple hours later,
ask him a million more times.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, that's so true. This is so funny that they're calling this out so early. And it's fascinating how, like, I don't know what it is about this relationship of Joel and Ellie, but the bond is always just so subtle to me, where I cannot pinpoint where it happened. There's moments where you're like, could have happened there, could have happened there, could have happened there, but you can't, like, exactly pinpoint where Joel flips and he starts liking this girl.
I think I think it's in episode 4 because we have that bit in the truck where he's talking about the difference between like what you live on for family, right?
Yeah.
And then Ellie's like, I'm not family. He goes, nope, you're cargo. And I made a promise
But
to
like
Tess. And she was like family.
even in that, you're like, you're full of shit. You don't believe the words that you're saying.
I don't know if he's fully like all shit.
I don't think it's like
then-
he doesn't believe what he's saying. I think he believes like he's believing that, but like there's an element of you as a viewer where you're like, nah, you like this girl. Like, don't lie.
No, but I don't think we get that until the end of episode 4 where he laughs at the diarrhea joke, and it's like, okay, yeah,
I think it comes sooner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think,
especially in this version. Like, I think it comes way sooner.
Okay, yeah, I'm wrong. I think it comes in more during like the fight, and he tells her to hide, and then he's like, he feels bad about her having to. Shoot that guy.
There's something in their truck ride and them spending the night out in the woods or whatever. That's where like I think it like starts happening. But like again, like these are just moments that you can point to, but it's not. You can't. There's no switch. There's no moment where you're like, oh, now I like you. Like, and maybe that's like natural with real humans or whatever. But
I think that's a good thing.
Sometimes you start with someone, you're like, I don't like that motherfucker, and then like 3 weeks will pass, and you go, okay, I guess he's fine. Like, it's not like a hard switch, like from a one conversation.
Okay, you're talking about your relationship with me right now, and I don't appreciate it. Don't air our dirty laundry in public here, Ted.
But like it's at a point where like you really start seeing the love in these characters is showing, and I don't know when it switched. Like we were hating each other for a good minute, and then like all of a sudden it's like, nah, all right, we know the score, we know where we're at with this relationship, and it's fantastic. Really well paced, very well written, incredibly well acted. There were several moments where I was looking at Joel and I was like, God damn, Pedro Pascal is killing this. He's doing so good. The conversation of we mentioned it earlier, but the conversation he has with Henry of like, I guess I'm the bad guy, like I'm the monster because I went and did this, and Joel is sitting there like, I don't think you are, and just some game knowledge tells you that like, okay, this is continuing to play into those themes that we're gonna see later, and it's almost like because we know what's up, like our use of foreshadowing is so much like better implemented. And I'm almost worried that they're telegraphing it too much, like that they're cueing in the rest of the audience who doesn't know the story of what's going to happen a little too much. But maybe I'm just eagle-eyed for it because I know what happens or whatever.
Talking about Pedro Pascal, apparently Ash's like For You page on TikTok has been inundated with Pedro Pascal, and she's like,
hey, sexy
lady. She was like, yeah, I want to watch The Mandalorian now because
me and Nicole had a joking conversation about that where I was like, Mandalorian season 3 starts in March, like right after The Last of Us ends, and she goes, really? And I go, yeah, and she goes, well, maybe you should catch me up on that, and I went, why? I like Pedro. He's a good actor. I'm like, okay. He wears a helmet the whole show.
Yeah, that's
the whole show. And I went 95% of it. And she goes, okay, never mind.
It's like, yeah, you gotta look at him in like the last episode of season 2 or something.
See, that weeds out the fake fans from the real.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, yeah, because she saw a clip of him being like, yeah, I was Mando and Mandalorian, and you put on like the bedroom voice, and she was like, oh, the bedroom voice, huh?
Oh, yeah. Lord. I don't know when he puts on the bedroom voice. Maybe just because he's just low whispering the whole time.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak much, but when he does,
this is the way.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal's a good ass looking man. Aging like a fine fucking wine too. Let me tell you what, because I saw some early pictures of him, like in the early 2000s or whatever, and he looked okay.
What was that show he was on that everyone's looking at? Like,
I don't know. He first hit the mainstream with Game of Thrones, but like Game of Thrones man, he is a sexy motherfucker. God damn, good looking man, that Pedro Pascal. Connor, is there anything else that you want to touch on before we start heading out of here?
Not really. I think all the bases were covered. It was just overall a great episode, both serviceable to fans and very good for people who are now just watching The Last of Us story in TV format. I'm really excited to see how much better the episodes get, because I think this was like, as far as the plot line, this sold me on it being better than what was covered in the game, which is the only time I've definitively thought that up until now. So very good.
Yeah,
Very
I had started that thought last week, and
Mhm.
this was an episode. I liked this episode more than last week. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, I thought it was like pretty one for one, like in terms of like level of quality with the game. But there was just some slight changes, some slight, Sam being deaf and how he interacts with Ellie in that way, having Ellie try and save him, so on and so forth. Where I was like, God damn, this is so smart. Like, this is so smart. And how, like, this will butterfly effect and, like, probably change a couple of things in part 2, just because of the choices that they've made here. Not because they need to change things in part 2, but because these are different choices that they've made in part 1.
I think next episode, because we're combining like the Tommy thing and Winter. I think at least at the end of the episode we see David.
Oh yeah, I think we see David halfway through the episode,
Before?
and
Okay.
he enters our main threat, and then we deal with him.
You know what that means? That means next episode we're probably seeing Troy Baker.
We just might. I'm because they have to put Joel out of commission, right? So
Yeah, I think when
I think
Joel's
we
out of commission-
end next episode with shooting Joel, injuring Joel, something, and then we cut to black, like as we
Yeah.
think he's dying or something. 'Cause
and then I think
happens in
when we're alone, yeah, right. I think when we're alone with Ellie is when we get like the flashbacks to Left Behind as well. So
Wonder how they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do it the same way.
Well, yeah, and Ellie has that line of I've hurt people too or whatever. So I'm very curious as to how they do that.
yeah, where she was
I
like,
mean-
it wasn't my first time. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you really just take the flashback sequences, because Left Behind is not a long DLC, 3 hours,
Right.
maybe,
Yeah, it's like 2 or
maybe
3 hours, yeah.
4 if you're pushing it, but like it's about 3 hours long. But there's a lot of like flashing to the winter times where Ellie's taking care of Joel, so that you have an excuse for combat. Which I think it would have been a smarter choice to just not have any combat in that DLC. But I understand, whatever.
Yeah.
Video games in 2013, 2014. So, you take that out and you're left with, what, Connor? 25 minutes of cutscene?
Yeah, it definitely, that DLC lasted a bit too long. Whenever I play it, I'm like, okay, let's get this over with. I'm here. I'm playing
You
this
get
game
that
again for
you get that big fight with all the hunters, and you're like, did we need this? I don't know if we needed this.
We did not. We did not. A couple of clickers would be nice, as they did. Infected. But hunters going into big
I just
battle.
don't think that you didn't need any combat, like, at all. Like, anyways, but also I love the introduction of hordes in the TV show that we're seeing. That's gonna be fun later. It's gonna be really fun.
I wouldn't call this the introduction. I think the introduction was in episode 2.
No,
With,
I
like,
just meant in the show in
Oh,
general,
okay.
like just having them all.
Yeah.
But we definitely saw like the savagery of horde in this one. Like we saw them in episode 2. You're right, but like we didn't see what they do, and here you saw what they did, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, that's kind of scary."
How
They're-
they essentially tore like the entire fighting force of this settlement apart.
and it's instantly they're everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even think in any other zombie medium you've never just seen them instantly be everywhere. Like they're not
reminds
here, and
me-
then suddenly they're all around you.
Yeah, it reminds
Maybe
me
like,
of like
I don't know, World War Z.
yeah, right, where they're like piling onto each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when you step on a spider and it had like babies on its back and then they like
Yeah.
spread out. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
I also like they didn't kill that bloater. Like
Yeah.
that bloater won.
Not dead. That blows.
In that situation, you're not killing it. You gotta
well-
have him all on his own.
And it's crazy because the camera pulls out and you still see them pouring out of the hole, like they're still
Yep.
coming. And Nicole goes, "Man, there's so many." And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's the group that they pushed into the tunnels 20 years ago, combined with Ish's group. Like,
Yep.
it like that is 2 communities worth of infected.
Yeah.
that are down there." And I was like, she's like, "Wow, that's crazy. They like killed all of them." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. All of Kansas City is gone.
Yeah.
Like they're out and they're gonna go kill
That's a
the rest
major
of
city.
Kansas. Like it's all gone. Like, and granted, how many people are still there? couple thousand, you know?
I think probably just that one community.
Well, yeah, but like
I'm
how big
honest,
is that
yeah.
one community? You know,
Right.
Like you're looking at 5,000 people, maybe.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Probably
they're
less,
fucked.
to be honest.
They're all fucked. Like all of them are fucked.
Final point, going back to Kathleen in that regard of screwing everything over. Kind of the consistency of The Last of Us as a franchise is your actions just kind of screw you over, because Kathleen was kind of urged by Perry, who the other guy was, to like, okay,
It is Perry. I said Pierce earlier, but it's Perry. Yeah.
Jeffrey Pierce
but he
is the actor.
Oh, okay.
Jeffrey Pierce is the actor. That's right.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, well, do we really need to be spending all these resources after we finally won after all these years going after these two? And her own personal vendetta was like, yeah. And even though she, of course, didn't actively make a decision that made the infected come out, if they were not chasing them, that never would have happened.
Yep.
The circumstances would have never played out that way. So
he's not my 7th priority, Perry.
he should have been.
Yeah. You had some other things going on, Kathleen. No, yeah, you're right, Connor. When you commit a terrible act in this world, it rolls a ball. Like a boulder starts going, and it's gonna come back on you.
Yep.
And yeah, seeing that theme continue throughout the progress of the show is gonna be great. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for your Last of Us Episode 5 review. Let us know how you felt about the episode down in the comments. Let us know what you're excited to see in the upcoming episodes. And maybe something you would have wished was a little different this time around or something. Or maybe, you didn't like a change or something. Tell us why about all of that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and the podcast streaming services. And keep an eye out. What day does this come out? This comes out today. Today is Saturday. Keep an eye out Monday morning for the Two Penny Games cast, which goes live at youtube.com/twopennygames and mainstream podcast services of your choice. We are not going live this week for twitch.tv/twopennygames on Tuesday. We're spending Valentine's Day with our significant others. Sorry, we got lives, man.
Yeah, I'm going out with my girlfriend like next week. It's gonna be fun.
I love you too.
What's your name, Connor?
I love you too.
Beth.
Thank you so much for watching. Until next
name?
time, have a great time. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Sweet.
Bye. I woke up for 9 a.m. for this.
Connor, when'd you get home last night?
1.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Okay. I'm so glad we didn't stay up.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Me too.
I realized early on, I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work.
Okay. Until next time, have a great time. Bye-bye.